Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News. It is November 24th, 2017, the day after Thanksgiving. Ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty early in the morning, 4:15 a.m. here on the East Coast. And the reason why I've brought you to my YouTube channel this early in the morning is because, once again, I've discovered something, very, very disturbing. But I'm going to bring all of this information to you right now. Just give me one moment. I want to go ahead and just share the video information on the Planet X News Facebook page real quick so we can bring some people into the live chat. Just give me 1 second. I was going back through some stereo Core 2 imaging, and I got to say, I know for a fact now that NASA's definitely listening to me. There's no doubt about that. They're definitely watching what we're doing. There's no doubt about that either. Just give me 1 second. Just want to go ahead and share what we're doing here. Okay. So what we're looking at here is the Stereo Ahead Core 2 spacecraft that monitors the sun. I have the date, November 20th, 2017, up on the screen. And I'm also going to show you some very weird anomalies, some very weird reactions going on with this spacecraft, this Stereo Ahead Core 2 spacecraft. And this happened a couple of days ago. And, I've been trying to find out or figure out what was happening back on the 18th with this camera system on this spacecraft. But getting back to the main news. Now, I view these instruments several times a day, every single day. And 2 days ago, I published some photographs that I captured on the Stereo Ahead Core 2 imaging. The exact same screen that you're looking at right now. Now, at this timestamp, 10:09:17, this is AM UTC time. Right up here was an impression of a very large round object that appeared in the image on this timestamp. Now, whenever I was going back through all of the information, because remember, 2 days ago, all of the NASA websites were down, offline, for more than 12 hours. And, to me, that's kind of suspicious. Let's face it, a technology giant like NASA should not have every single one of their websites down. I just don't understand it, but it was very suspicious. So there was a lot of information to go back over during that 12 to 13 hour period where all of the NASA sites were down. We couldn't access anything. So it took me about a day to go back through all of the information, and whenever I was going through the Stereo Core 2 images, I noticed this large, perfectly spherical impression right here on this date stamp. Now, I've pulled the Stereo website back up. Okay, this is where we're at right now. We're actually live on this website, not my photographs. So this morning, I wanted to go back to this timestamp, and I wanted to further investigate the image that I captured. Well, lo and behold, I'm at the exact same timestamp, minus 18 seconds, and the image is no longer there. And it was right here. Right there. So I'll show you the image. Now, this is my image that I captured. Let me go ahead and go full screen here. We could see the exact same date, minus 18 seconds. Now, for some reason, because they doctored the images and the timestamp, my image was captured at 10:09:17. The images that you're looking at on the actual stereo site, they no longer go to 10:09:17. They go to 10:09:35, like what you're seeing right here. Or excuse me, 10:09:17. My image was captured on 10:09:35. So a difference of 18 seconds. A difference of 18 seconds shouldn't make a difference if this image was or was not there. And you can clearly see. Here, I'll zoom in for you. You know, it will get a little blurry because of all of the interference on the stereo ahead Core 2 image. But you can clearly see a perfectly spherical impression right here. I mean, there's no denying that it's there. So whenever we go back to the actual stereo website, same timestamp, same date, they removed the image. They just flat out removed it. So, you know, it makes you wonder, well, why would they do that? Was there something to cover up? Did we expose a real image of Planet X in the stereo ahead Core 2 images from NASA? So where did the image go? You know, I'm going to go ahead and open this up a little bit full screen so I could use the buttons down here. So we can actually step frame by frame. So let's go back a few frames. Excuse me. So we've gone back a few frames. Still, no image. Let's go forward a few frames. Now you see the 10:09:35 is where I stopped and captured the image. But the image was actually there for multiple frames for, you know, a good period of time. Right there. So let's move forward. This is 10:24. Still, no image. So what happened to it? It just disappeared? Or did NASA remove it after I exposed the image on my YouTube channel and also on my Planet X News Facebook page? I showed all of the images. So what happened to it? Where did it go? Why did they remove it? Furthermore, how did they remove it? You know, it really starts to make me wonder more and more, you know, how are they listening to me? Why are they listening to me? I'm sure that they probably watch the videos to see what we're finding. And like I always do, I show all of you where I'm finding the information so you yourself can go back and check it out. So now, at this point, let's just go ahead and reverse back here. Now, you can't go back and search for this image because they removed it. They just flat out erased it. Whether they covered it up with their little digital technology, whether they airbrushed it, I don't know. But all I know is that image was right there. It is no longer there. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump out of the full screen mode here. And again, you know, I try to document and capture everything by screenshot. I always try to include the timestamp so I know what I'm looking at. Everybody else knows what I'm looking at. And once again, there's the object. There's the impression. I mean, it's absolutely perfectly round, like a huge disc. So where is it now? Where is it today on November 24th? Just a few days ago. And now we can't access the image. But I documented it, and I tried some different filters so I can bring out the color and bring out more definition so I can actually see for sure what I'm looking at. Now, it's a little obscure because of all of the interference that was occurring on the detectors on the stereo ahead spacecraft. So you can clearly see how it jumps out at you. It's right there. But it's no longer on the live feed. So once again, changed a little coloring just to make sure I'm looking at what I'm looking at. It's right there. It was there yesterday and the day before, but today it's no longer there. Once again, just a little filter change and a color change. I wanted to make sure that it was actually there. The impression is there. But again, folks, it's no longer there on the website for the live feed. Now here was the date. I was just making some quick photographs for a video documenting the date in there. The stereo head core 2, the arrow pointing right to the impression. I'll zoom in a little bit more for you. How would this image appear? That's the big question. If it wasn't there in real life as a solid object, then it shouldn't appear in the stereo image. I'm going to go back in a few minutes here and I'm going to show you the days before what was occurring on the sun and what was occurring with the stereo ahead core 2 spacecraft. So let's go back and we'll just check a few more of these images. I just darkened this one up. I wanted to make sure, once again, what are we looking at? This impression appeared. There's no doubt. I captured it. It's documented. It's documented in a video from the day before. And we're documenting it right now, again. So this was a negative shot that I took. Again, just wanted to make sure that this impression was real and it was being captured at that moment. We can see it. Now, it's not crystal clear like all of us would want it to be, but I'll show you the reason why and what was happening on the stereo spacecraft. And again, just a black and white grayscale negative image. Wanted to make sure it was there. Now, here's the thing, folks. It wasn't just in one frame. It was in multiple frames over a period of many, many hours. Many, many hours. Now, all of those many, many hours, they don't exist. I mean, the timestamps are all there, but the object is no longer there on the website, their live feed. It's not there. But I documented it. I took all of my snapshots, and once again, we exposed that. Now, on the 23rd of November, yesterday, I took a few snapshots of the SDO, and this is their composite view of the sun. And actually, what I was looking at is I was looking at this massive oval-shaped filament, because this is kind of rare to see a filament in a complete circle like this. It's almost reconnecting with its base over here, and that is directly Earth-facing, and that is a massive, massive filament. If that would release towards Earth, would be in a little bit of trouble. But so far, it's been stable. From point to point, it's approximately 280,000 kilometers in distance, so it's pretty big. But what I noticed when I was looking at this SDO image is this object right over here. And once again, this object. Now, it may not look like a lot to you, and some people will say that this object over here is a coronal prominence or a coronal cavity. Well, at the point when this photograph was taken, and this was just a still image, there is a prominence right there. Kind of looks like a football shape, or this oval shape, perfectly indicative of a coronal prominence. However, what is behind it? You can see the perfect round shape directly behind it. Coronal prominences do not have perfect circular, I don't even know what words I could use. They're not encapsulated in these perfectly round objects. You can see the prominence right here. It's shaped like a football. But far behind it, same images I showed you the other day when we captured this object nearly in this same position. But what caught my eye was this object over here. Right there. You can clearly see it's a solid object. It's slightly behind the sun's corona. Let's zoom in a little bit more. You can see the perfectly round shape. Now, it's not completely exposed because of the sun's corona. And again, this composite image, this is made up of several different wavelengths of light. I believe it's the 211, the 193, and the 171. They combined 3 different wavelengths of light to create this type of image. Now, we're going to take a look up here. And right up here, this is what you would be looking at and say, okay, that's the beginnings of a coronal prominence, a very large plasma loop, looping from one end and reconnecting back with the sun. Okay, that's what that would look like. But whenever you pan over here, now does that perfectly round object look like this? No, it doesn't. So I was looking very, very closely at this object because I've never caught multiple objects on this SDO imaging. It might have been just a chance occurrence. Does our Planet X have other satellite objects rotating around it? Moons or other small stellar cores? It's a high possibility. But all I know is this object right here should not be there, and this object should not be there. So if we pan out just a little bit, and you look at the regular screen without it being blown up and superimposed on your screen, no coloring changes have been done. Nothing. This is a high definition image coming directly from the SDO website. So how would you account for this spherical object here? And how would you account for that spherical object right there? Yes, there is a prominence, a perfect prominence, the perfect example of a coronal prominence, this football-shaped object. But what's behind it? Unexplainable. What's enveloped in the sun's corona, in this composite image? Right there, unexplainable. So if you just glance at this photograph for a few minutes, and even if you didn't know what you were looking for, your eyes would be drawn directly to this upper left-hand corner. Now, just as an experiment, I sent this photograph to a few friends of mine. And I said, listen, do me a favor, take a look at this image, tell me what you see. Within a matter of seconds, everyone pointed right up here to this upper left-hand corner. And then simply asking me, wow, what is that planet-looking thing? What is that planet-looking thing? Well, we know they're not planets. It would be entirely impossible for planets to get that close to the sun. But stellar cores of stars, yes. This is the neighborhood that they like to be in. This is the neighborhood that they're used to being in. And yes, they can withstand being that close to the sun. So, very, very unusual. This is just a close-up. And again, it's not that well defined, but it makes you look twice at it and say, hey, what is that? Hey, what is this? Doesn't look right. See, and this object here is clearly behind the sun, off in the distance, slightly. The coronal prominence, the football-shaped object, it's clearly attached to the sun, like it should be. Very, very cool picture. I'm glad I was able to capture it. But I'm going to get back to the stereo imaging, and I'm just going to go ahead and blow this up a little bit. And I want you to pay very close attention. I'm going to go ahead and reload this so we can start from the beginning. Just going to stop it for 1 second. Now, on the 17th of November, we had a coronal mass ejection. And you're going to see it. It's going to come from the right side of the sun as you're facing it on your computer screen or your cell phone screen right now. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. I'm going to move it a little bit faster. And we'll start to see right here the coronal mass ejection. Okay, so I'm going to stop it. So we see right here on the 17th, this coronal mass ejection occurs. Wasn't a really big deal. It wasn't Earth-facing. However, what you're about to see 24 hours later after the coronal mass ejection is you're going to see some very, very weird, strange movements of the occulter, which is the black disk, and the white circle is supposed to represent the sun. Now, the stereo ahead spacecraft, they have many detectors, light detectors, many things that they are monitoring with these detectors. Yes, they do get overloaded with cosmic rays and the energy from the sun and the coronal mass ejections. And that's kind of when there's a coronal mass ejection and it is kind of pointed directly towards the stereo spacecraft. Now, the stereo spacecraft is at a different position. It's not our view of the sun as we would be looking at it from Earth. It's kind of off to the side. The SDO spacecraft does give us a bird's eye view of the sun, what it would look like if we were looking at it from Earth. The stereo spacecraft is off in the distance Oh, I think it's at this point in time, it should be off to the right of Earth and about at the same distance from the Earth to the Sun. So when this coronal mass ejection occurred, it wasn't facing the spacecraft. So therefore, all of this interference that we're about to see, well, it shouldn't have occurred. But let's take a look at it, and I'll show you. Now we're still moving from the 17th until the 18th of the month. Now watch this. This goes on and on and on. Now, after a period of 24 hours, that shaking back and forth, it stops. You can see a little bit more venting from the coronal mass ejection occurring. No big deal. Now we're already into the 20th and the 21st. You can see, still see a little bit more from this coronal mass ejection occurring right here. Nothing major. Nothing major at all. And then on the 22nd, bingo, we see more of this interference. And you can see when the energy is picked up by the detectors on the stereo ahead spacecraft. Now, this is what occurs. But what happened on the 18th, from the 18th to the 19th, right after this coronal mass ejection, 24 hours later, here we go again. It's going to replay. Now, I'll be pretty honest with you folks. I've been looking at these instruments for years and years and years. I've seen some weird things happen, watching the coronagraphs. And, you see things fly by and, you don't know what they really are. But this, I've never seen that type of occurrence before. Never. And again, I look at these instruments at least 3 times a day. Now, something like what you're seeing here from the 22nd to the 23rd, that's kind of indicative to the detectors being overloaded. But on the 18th, the shaking back and forth, I don't know if it was caused by the coronal mass ejection, possibly taking 24 hours for that energy to reach the stereo spacecraft. But again, that coronal mass ejection wasn't all that. It wasn't that big where it would cause that type of major disturbance, especially when it wasn't even Earth-facing. Not even facing the direction of the stereo spacecraft. But yet we still have that crazy shaking anomaly occurring. What's causing it? Was it the camera systems trying to possibly autofocus? I doubt it. Because it happened for a 24-hour period. And again, these are timestamps. It records an image every 12 or 16 minutes. It all depends what they want us to see. And this is in a loop, back and forth, based on the dates that I have set. And the dates are from the 16th to today. There's the coronal mass ejection. 24 hours later, we start to see this shaking back and forth. And, you know, I'm going to wait till this stops on the 20th. And we're going to take a look again, and we're going to see if we can find the object that I recorded on the 20th. And it's not there. So we're moving into the 20th. I'm just going to go ahead and step through here. We're at 5:09 a.m. UTC time. And again, we're looking up here for that big round impression. So I'm just going to go ahead and click, click, click all the way through here till we get to that point. And still we see nothing. Now, I had picked up this object, this impression up here, around the 8 a.m. timestamp. It was clearly there. So we're going to go ahead and keep on pushing forward. We're at 10:39. 30 minutes past the point where I recorded that impression. Now, today, it's gone. So what happened to the mysterious impression that was there? Let's just reverse this and go back to my point. 10:09:17. The object should be right here. Clearly, 100% removed from public viewing. Why? Because the other day, I captured that impression and I showed it to everyone. Now, they removed it. So, my point being, there's nothing to hide, ladies and gentlemen. Why manipulate the data? Why remove things? You see, folks, we are not the ones creating the conspiracy. The governments, the space agencies that are in charge, they are the ones that are creating the conspiracy. Instead of being upfront with the world population, they're flat out lying and covering things up. Now, let me just jump out of here real quick. The photographs that I showed all of you from that point, just let me jump back here. Here's my image. You can see it. 11:20, time 10:09. I captured it. It was there. Now, it's not the best photograph in the world, and some people may think that it's not credible evidence. But now, when we go back and we try to view the same impression that was there, and now it's not. So, you see my point. Who's creating the conspiracy? The people that they call nibtards and, Planet X criminals? No, we don't create the conspiracies. Whenever you do something like this, and you take the information away, and you hide it, well, people that are investigating, that are researching, whenever they see a situation like this, where we have screen captured the information, we've documented it, and then whenever we go back 24 hours later to take another view and maybe a few more photographs, now it's gone. But it's too late. It's already been documented. We see the impression. and it's perfectly round. Now, some could say, oh, that might have been a little bit of a ghost image coming from the occulter. Nah, I don't think so. The sizes are different, and just days before, remember, we were viewing this object about right here on the 15th and the 16th and the 17th. So did the object actually move up in its orbit? Possibly. But my point is, where did that impression go? It was available on the Stereo Ahead website, and the images, it was available for like a 2.5 to 3 hour time span. Today, it's been erased. It's gone. So, we're not the ones that are causing the conspiracy. The other day we did a live stream talking about the article that came out that NASA is tired of the Planet X conspiracy. Well, if you're tired of the conspiracy, then don't do things like what was just done. Clearly, ladies and gentlemen, those images were removed. But I did my job. I did my job by finding it, documenting it, and bringing it to the public. Well, that's something that they don't want. There's just no doubt about that. This morning, whenever I woke up, I wanted to get another very early start on today. This was one of the first things that I did. I wanted to go back and I wanted to review the images on the stereo, and they were gone. I thought I made a mistake on the timestamp. So I went back, I looked at my images, then I went back to the stereo live feed, and I didn't make a mistake. I was spot on. The problem is now they removed the image. So maybe they want all of you to think, oh, that guy just doctored those images. He told us to go there to the stereo website and look at it. We can't see it. It's gone. Well, I have to admit, it is definitely gone. Nothing we could do about it now. But, this is why I keep at what I'm doing. Because I could see the deceit. I could see the cover-up. Folks, like I said, we're not the ones creating this conspiracy. They do a pretty damn good job of it themselves. So why not just leave the image there? Leave it there. They make excuses, and the debunkers make their excuses on why the image was there. So why not just leave it there? Why not leave it there? They took it out. They took it out. So, that's what I have for all of you very, very early this morning. I hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving Day dinner here in the United States. It was a nice, quiet holiday. I had Dr. Albers over for her first Thanksgiving dinner, and showed her how to cook a turkey. She enjoyed it. But we're going to go ahead and continue each and every day trying to dig around and find the truth. Folks, and there's a lot of weird things going on around the world. I mean, there are just so many weird things happening. From our weather to reports about what to expect in 2018, with this earthquake report. And I was taking a look at some earthquake information first thing this morning. Not too much going on out there, but we are expecting some solar streams to start impacting today and probably, through the rest of this weekend and going into next week. Will it create additional earthquake activity? Probably. The earthquake activity, it really does bother me because, we saw those rashes of magnitude high 6 and 7 earthquakes. Like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, 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 we're getting all of these higher magnitude earthquakes all at once in the course of, 24, 48 hours. And then those really, really deep earthquakes in the South Pacific. I recorded one of them that was 606 kilometers deep. I mean, that is very, very, very far deep into the earth. What actually occurs down there, deep, deep underground, during those powerful, deep earthquakes, scientists, they have their theories, but it has to be very destructive. That deep into the Earth's mantle, you're looking at almost like a liquefied state of molten rock. And all of that energy pent up all the way down has to be doing severe damage to those crustal plates. Thank God we have people like Dutch Sins out there that really knows what he's talking about, and he could really lay things out, kind of in layman's terms, so we could get a better understanding of earthquake dynamics. And he's trolled heavily. I mean, they abuse him. I mean, the USGS abuses him. I mean, they openly troll Dutch Sins to take away his credibility. But out of every man and woman on the face of this earth, I think the guy has the best credibility on this planet. He's not a government agency. We should be able to trust government reporting agencies like the USGS. People that live in these areas where there's heavy seismic activity, well, they rely on that science. A lot of earthquakes go unreported. I just recently heard that their excuse for some of this non-reporting was, well, there's not a heavy population of people there, or people don't live there, so, we don't report it. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't disagree with that. I mean, I completely disagree with that. That's just asinine. Absolutely horrible. But Dutch does do a good job, and if any of you aren't subscribed to his channel to keep yourself updated on earthquake activity, whether you live in an earthquake zone or not, it's all directly related to what we research and what we investigate. But the removal of these images today, that's really got me. And the reason why it has me a little upset is, it wasn't even that clear of an image. It was kind of a, perfectly circular impression that was there for almost 3 hours. It's not like it was a crystal clear, high definition photograph. But they chose to remove it. They chose to hide it. So that just deepens the conspiracy even more. I hope you all understand what I'm getting at. We don't create the conspiracy. We're not the conspiracy nuts. We are people that are actively investigating and researching because we're concerned. And I believe we as a people have the right to know. If you want to get right down to it, our tax dollars here in the United States, well, they fund the space program with NASA. That's why all of these instruments and these websites are supposedly available to the public. Interesting. Very interesting. So I doubt very highly if those images are going to be placed back in to the footage. You can clearly see they removed it. So while I have the live chat up, does anybody have any questions? I know there may be some of you that may still be on the fence as to, Planet X theories, investigations, research. But, over the course of the last year, I've captured so much proof, so much evidence. And then there's that waning question. What's going to happen? When is it going to happen? Well, you really can't put a date on anything. That would be stupid. But you can clearly see that what is happening out there near the sun, these objects are definitely affecting the sun. As I've mentioned before, our biggest threat's not going to be from Planet X, one of these stellar core objects. Our biggest threat will come from the sun. The sun is and has been very, very active over the course of the last couple of years. It seemed this year, for 2017, it just seems that it was even more active, more intensity, more pretty large coronal mass ejections, all occurring pretty close to the timeline that I've put together during a calendar 30-day period. But yeah, having issues with the sun and the earth, that's the big issue. That's the big issue. As Planet X and the sun react to each other during the periods when this object is closest to the sun, their magnetic fields interacting, causing major disturbances on the sun. And then, if the earth is in the wrong place at the wrong time, yes, we could be in a lot of trouble. We could definitely be in a lot of trouble. But just the energy that the earth is absorbing from the sun during these occurrences, that is the uptick in the earthquake activity, very strange anomalies with our weather. We've gone into this severe wobble with the earth. It's very, very hard to prove because we don't have access to all of the scientific data that, NASA and the European Space Agency, they have all the info. We have to make observations and try to figure it out for ourselves. But We can clearly see the way that they chemtrail the living hell out of our skies. Are they legitimately trying to help the world population by utilizing chemtrails to deflect the abundance of solar radiation back into space? That theory is possible. But the crap that they're putting into the air could possibly be even worse. So it's a catch-22, You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I also truly believe that the reflective material that they put in these chemtrails, which is supposedly a large amount of aluminum chaff, whatever they want to call it, very, very small aluminum particles, supposedly to deflect this radiation and this sunlight back into space. I don't know, folks. I've heard the theory. I'm not too down with it. But the chemtrailing does obscure our sight, our vision of what we are able to see from standing on the earth and looking up. I see a lot of strange photographs. Each and every day, the photographs come in from all of you around the world. And going from last year into this year, all of the abundant photographs of these sun halos. Before last year, folks, just think to yourself, when did you ever see a sun halo? Now, pretty much, you can, look up and you can see one of these sun halos just about every day. What's causing them? What's causing them in the abundance that people now all around the world are seeing them? And now people are what? Documenting it. And with the use of social media and YouTube, and Facebook and Twitter, people are able to capture these images, put them out there, and they make their way around the world for all of us to see. But why the abundance of these really radical looking sun halos? So, I've seen a sun halo here and there throughout my lifetime. But now, you can pretty much log on to Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, and you can see someone, somewhere in the world, documenting these absolutely outrageous sun halos. People have said that it's, Nibiru or Planet X eclipsing the sun. Well, I think that's completely wrong. I don't think that has anything to do with it. But there is something. There is something going on that is creating these massive sun halos. They are spectacular to look at. But what is the real root cause of why they're occurring just about every single day on this planet? People are seeing them. And the better the camera systems get on cell phones, the better these pictures are becoming. So, not anymore are we being referred to, oh yeah, this guy's using a 10-cent camera on his cell phone. Well, these little cameras on these cell phones, hey, they're just as sophisticated as any other camera. My new cell phone takes absolutely phenomenal photographs. The camera mechanism in my cell phone is pretty damn good. Just like a lot of other people around the world using good cell phone cameras to record and take photographs. So it's not a 10-cent camera. But I'm glad to see that more and more people are waking up, and whether they believe in the existence of a Planet X, an object out there interfering with our sun, whether you believe in that or not, that's up to you. But one thing that you can't deny, and I'm going to leave it at that, one thing that you cannot deny is that our planet is going through some very, very severe changes. Our skies are looking really crazy at points in time. The coloring of our skies, the chemtrailing every single day. They don't even try to hide it. But you can't deny all of that. You can't deny that the weather patterns around the world are just absolutely out of control. As we move further and further into the winter time here in the northern hemisphere, I kind of can't wait to see what the weather patterns are going to be like in late December and January and February. Because this time last year, the temperatures were very moderate. And then going into late December, the day after Christmas, I live in the Northeast, it was 62 degrees the day after Christmas. So, are we going to see another pattern of this, kind of weird, warm weather? If we do, something's up. Something's definitely up. Only time will tell. And as long as we stick to our guns and we continue to photograph it, document it, and more so publicizing it. See, that's the big key, folks. You all know damn well that Big Brother monitors everything. If you're on that list as a truther or, a thorn in their side, you can guarantee that every stroke on your computer is being recorded. They're watching you. There's a massive war room with all of these agents sitting in there, pounding away at their little computer keys, watching and interacting with you right now in a YouTube live stream or a Facebook live stream or in the comment section of a video or a post on Twitter or Facebook. This is how deep it really goes. And like I just said earlier, we have not created this conspiracy. They created it. And at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, they are also creating the disinformation. I'm sure we can all agree on that. In the days and the weeks to come, moving closer and closer into the holidays, all of you, please keep your eyes and your ears wide open. And another recommendation, try to stay away from large crowds. I just have a really bad feeling about another major false flag event. I would think that they would stay away from holiday seasons just being human. But we clearly see what's going on around the world. The threat of war, I don't know. I personally don't think it will happen, but I think it keeps the entire world population on edge. But we're going to continue to document and keep an eye on every single thing going on. But I got a bad feeling. I definitely have a bad feeling, moving into the beginning of 2018. They're already predicting that, we're going to see a pretty severe uptick in the earthquake activity moving through the year of 2018. Where are they coming up with that data? And how all of a sudden did that just all come out? So what are they looking at? What do they know? That's a pretty damn bold statement. Stating that on record, we will be recording anywhere from 25 to 30 magnitude 7 and above earthquakes. So they know something. They know something. I see somebody's asking about how our magnetosphere has been holding up. Well, I tried to take a look at it earlier, and the actual ISWA site was down, and I couldn't access it. But what we can do real quick before I let all of you go is we could take a look at it and see if the site comes back up. Now, it wouldn't come up for me earlier. Let me see if it comes up now. Oh, it's back up. I couldn't access it earlier. I'll take a quick look at it and see what's happening. We're going to have to go back a couple of hundred frames. And let's take a look at it. Now this is going from very late yesterday, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, midnight UTC time. And there are some fluctuations occurring. Nothing too major. But I'm just going to step back here for just 1 second. And this is 11/23/2017, 10/29/25 UTC time. And you can clearly see the bow shock here. A little bit of a distortion here. But once again, a lot of this energy coming from the backside, the dark side, the nighttime side of the Earth. So, where is this continually coming from? All of the energy should be coming from this direction. The sun being over here, the solar wind impacting the Earth. But yet we continue to see these intrusions of the magnetosphere, the magnetopause, our bow shock being collapsed from the sides. And it's usually up here, collapsing all the way down into the satellite belt. And more so, the highly elevated energy coming from the back side. So we can take a look and just jump back one day. See if anything else was recorded. But, folks, here's the other thing. We've caught them so many times deleting this information and then replacing it with, a little recording of something that looks normal. So, all this blue that you see back here, This is low pressure. So you could see some flexing at the front, but that's kind of normal. But you can see the bow shock collapsing, being distorted from this area. You'll see it once again. So there is a lot of energy coming from the dark side of the Earth, the nighttime side of the Earth. And you know, this isn't something that we've just been seeing, you know, a few weeks, a few months. Now, we've been seeing this now for, it's going on almost 2 years. This constant influx of lows and high pressures that are just, you know, just unimaginable. And whenever this comes in, it wraps right around the Earth. And, you know, we see that on the radiation levels. Let me see if I could go ahead and get to one real quick here. They mixed all this up. They changed the actual ISWA site. Just take a look and see what's happening radiation-wise. The influx of all of these heavily charged electrons. We'll go back a couple of hundred frames. See what's up. Now, I know when I looked at this a few days ago and yesterday, it was pretty interesting. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop it, and I'm going to use the slider myself here. And I mean, normally this area should be green, and you're going to see some hints of this lime color and some hints of the yellow coloring, and that, you know, that's all pretty normal. But whenever you start to see these darker orange colors wrapping in closely around the satellite belt, that's something of concern. So as I move this slowly, we're looking at pretty normal situations. Once again, you can see more elevation of these heavily charged electrons right there, and they're going to move into Earth. And this is going into today, right now. So you can see it's already happening as we speak. So this brings us up to today, the 24th, 7:58 a.m. UTC time. So it's definitely going to be a heavily charged day. But listen, folks, the best I can say, keep your eyes and your ears open. Keep those photographs coming in. Keep those cameras pointed to the sky. Hey, listen, you never know what you might capture. Hell, you could be taking a photograph of the sun, trying to document what's happening with the sun and chemtrails. Hey, you never know. You might catch yourself a UFO. Something very, very strange lurking there in the skies. But I wanted to take this opportunity to show all of you that, this conspiracy, it doesn't begin with us. We don't create this conspiracy. The powers that be, the space agencies, they are the ones that create the conspiracy by hiding and deleting and changing information. And what? They don't think that we're going to notice it because they actually think that we're all just nothing but a bunch of dumbasses. But there's a lot of people out there that are very smart and very intelligent and very analytical. And we all seem to be bunched up in one big group. We know what's up, don't we? But anyway, folks, I'm going to try to get some more work done. And I know Dr. Albers wanted to do a live stream later on this afternoon, possibly early afternoon. And she has a couple of more reports that just came out. If any of you are not subscribed to her YouTube channel, all of the links are in the description box. And once again, we've been getting a fantastic turnout on the latest book that we published. And it's actually taken off very, very well with all of the photographic evidence. And if any of you want to purchase it, it's available on Amazon. I would move towards purchasing the large paperback version instead of the Kindle version, because, you know, there's just something about the paperback. You know, when we got our copy of it, this time we produced it in like a larger format, about the size of a magazine, and all full color, high definition photographs in there. And I'll tell you, it looks really, really good. I mean, I've sat down a couple of times already and literally gone through the entire book, and it looks really, really good. But it's something tangible that you can have in your hands. And I think next week we are going to be coming out with our new bi-weekly series in a magazine form that will be published on Amazon. And this is going to consist of 5 of the doctor's reports and all of the photographic evidence. So what we've actually planned is every 2 weeks, we're going to release 5 more reports and the photographic evidence behind it. Because there are millions of people that we're not reaching through YouTube and through Facebook. And we want to give all of those people the chance to at least be informed. And this is the only way that we can think about doing it. We're going to try to keep the cost way down, but the printing costs with that type of periodical, it's a little expensive, but we're going to try to keep the cost down to around $15. That's about the best we can do. I really haven't gotten into the pricing battle with Amazon, but you know, I'll take care of all of that. But I hope all of you had a really, really good Thanksgiving if you were celebrating it. If not, listen, folks, stay tuned, because, you know, I got that gut feeling. I really do have that gut feeling that we're going to have a hell of a lot more to report on in the days, the weeks, and the months to come. So all of you, have a fantastic Friday. Have a great weekend. And be safe out there. Take care, folks.